You want to know how to never get angry again? How to look at someone actively trying to destroy your peace and feel absolutely nothing. Society tells you anger is natural. They tell you to manage it, to count to 10, to take a deep breath. They are lying to you. Anger is not a natural expression of self. It is a biological submission. Every time you lose your temper, you are signing a contract that hands a remote control of your nervous system to an idiot. You are acting as a puppet. But there is a psychological architecture, a method of cold, calculated detachment that makes you biologically immune to disrespect. Once you understand how the trap is set, you will never be caught in it again. Phase 1. The trap of the trigger. Why do you get mad? You think it is because someone crossed a line. You think it is because they are wrong and you are right. You think it is an expression of justice. No, you get angry because your ego is desperately trying to protect a fragile projection of your identity. You get angry because on some subconscious level you fear they might be right. Or worse, you fear that their opinion of you actually dictates your reality. Look at the mechanics of an insult. An insult is not a weapon. It is an invitation. It is a test to see if you are foolish enough to step off your throne and fight in the mud. In 1809, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of the French, cornered his foreign minister, Talleyrand. Napoleon was furious. He screamed. He insulted Talleyrand's loyalty, his intelligence, his honor. He threw a violent theatrical tantrum in front of the entire court. Talleyrand stood there unmoving, unbothered. His face was a mask of polite indifference. When Napoleon finally stormed out, breathless and red-faced, Talleyrand turned to the onlookers and quietly said, "What a pity that so great a man should be so ill-bred." Who held the power in that room? The emperor screaming like a child or the minister observing him like a specimen? When you react, you elevate the other person to your level. You validate their existence. You tell them your words have the power to alter my heart rate. You matter enough to disrupt my biology. You are essentially bleeding for them. Stop bleeding. Daniel Glemon's research on emotional intelligence highlights a phenomenon known as the Amygdala Hijack. When you are triggered, the primitive reptilian part of your brain overpowers the prefrontal cortex, the evolutionary seat of your logic, strategy, and self-control. You literally become stupider when you are angry. You lose access to your higher reasoning. You revert to an animal state. Manipulators know this. Dark triad personalities hunt for this. They poke you not because they hate you, but because they want to see if they can make you dance. If they can make you angry, they own you. They can predict your next move. They know you will yell, complain, or make a rash, destructive decision. You become a machine operating on predictable code. Do you enjoy being predictable? Do you enjoy knowing that anyone with a cheap insult can walk up to you, press a button, and watch you unravel? Every time you get angry, you are working for the person who insulted you. You are doing exactly what they designed you to do in that moment. You are abandoning your own goals to participate in their twisted game. Refuse to play. How do you do that? You don't do it by suppressing the rage. Suppression is just a delayed explosion. You do it by fundamentally altering how you perceive the trigger. Phase 2, the sovereign gap. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz. He lost his family, his life's work, his dignity. He was subjected to horrors that break the human mind. Yet, in the darkest place on earth, he discovered a psychological weapon that no god could confiscate. He realized a profound truth. Between a stimulus, the thing happening to you, and your response, there is a gap. In that gap lies your ultimate freedom. When someone cuts you off in traffic or insults your work or betrays your trust, that is a stimulus. The average human instantly snaps to the response. Rage, defensiveness, vengeance. There is no gap. They are animals reacting to a poke. They operate entirely on reflex. You must stretch that gap. How? By changing your internal framing from participation to clinical observation. When a doctor looks at a patient vomiting, the doctor does not take it personally. The doctor does not get angry at the vomit. The doctor analyzes the symptom. The doctor understands that the patient is sick, and the mess is just a byproduct of that sickness. When someone attacks you, they are vomiting their insecurity, their bad day, their inferior emotional regulation onto you. Why are you getting angry at a symptom? Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, ruled the known world. He possessed absolute power, yet he dealt with traitors, incompetent generals, and ungrateful citizens daily. He could have had anyone executed for a sideways glance, his primary Stoic directive. It is a ridiculous thing for a man not to fly from his own badness, which is indeed possible, but to fly from other men's badness, which is impossible. He viewed the annoying, toxic, and aggressive people in his life as a blacksmith views box. Natural, inevitable, harmless if you are wearing the right apron. When someone disrespects you, they are offering you a contract. The contract says, I will act like a fool, and in exchange you will lose your peace of mind and act like a fool with me. Do not sign the contract. Look at them. Study them. Ask yourself, what kind of internal misery must this person be experiencing to act this desperately for my attention? Suddenly you are not angry. You are analytical. You are a scientist observing a lab rat spinning aggressively in a wheel. You do not fight the rat. You just take notes. This requires you to kill the part of your ego that demands respect from fools. If a dog barks at you in the street, do you get down on all fours and bark back to prove your dominance? No. You keep walking because you know you are human and the dog is a dog. When a fundamentally flawed, insecure person insults you and you get angry, you are barking back at the dog. You are forgetting your own nature. Phase 3. The pathology of offense. There is a concept in applied Stoicism called the trichotomy of control, popularized by philosopher William B. Irvine. It divides the world into 3 categories: things you have total control over, things you have zero control over, and things you have partial control over. Anger is born in the delusion of control. You get angry because you subconsciously believe you can control how other people speak, act, and think. You cannot. And the moment you demand reality to bend to your will, reality will break you. To be offended is a choice. It is a voluntary concession of power. Cato the Younger was a Roman statesman famous for his unbending principles and iron will. He was despised by his political rivals. One day while walking in the forum, a fierce political opponent approached Cato and spit directly in his face. Cato didn't strike him. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't yell. He calmly pulled out a cloth, wiped his face, and said, I will swear to anyone lentiless that people are wrong to say that you cannot use your mouth. Another time, Cato was struck in the face during a heated dispute. When the man later came to him terrified to apologize, Cato looked at him blankly and said, I don't remember being hit. Why did he do this? Was he weak? Was he a coward? No, he was a fortress. Because to acknowledge the strike is to acknowledge the striker. Cato refused to grant his enemies a validation of existing in his emotional reality. He literally deleted their offense from his mind because accepting it would mean lowering his status to meet theirs. When you say you made me mad, you are admitting defeat. You are confessing that you lack sovereignty over your own inner citadel. You are telling the world that your emotional state is cheap, fragile, and available to anyone who wants to tamper with it. People think showing anger proves they are strong. Don't mess with me. I have a bad temper. That is the mating call of the week. A bad temper is a leaky faucet. It shows you lack the structural integrity to hold pressure. It shows you lack the discipline to process adrenaline. The most dangerous individuals on earth do not have bad tempers. They have endless chilling patience. They understand that anger is an expenditure of energy. Why would you spend your most valuable resource, your neurochemical focus, on someone you do not even respect? When you treat offense as a pathology, a disease of the weak, you stop getting infected by it. You realize that an insult says nothing about you and everything about the person delivering it. It is a confession of their character, not a critique of yours. Phase 4. The physiological deflation. This clinical detachment stops the psychological trap. But what about the physical rush? What about the adrenaline that makes your hands shake, your chest tight, and your voice tremble? You cannot just philosophize your way out of a nervous system spike. Your mind and body are an endless feedback loop. When anger hits, the amygdala signals a hypothalamus, which floods your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate accelerates. Your pupils dilate. Your vision narrows. This is an ancient survival mechanism. Your body is preparing for physical combat. It thinks you are about to fight to the death, but you are not fighting a saber-toothed tiger. You are dealing with a passive-aggressive coworker, a disrespectful partner, or a stranger on the internet. The moment you feel that heat in your chest, you must manipulate your own physiology before it manipulates you. This is not about taking a deep breath to calm down. That is generic, ineffective advice. This is about hacking your vagus nerve to forcefully shut down the panic response. Say an established predatory dominance. Stanford neurobiologist Andrew Huberman points to a specific respiratory mechanism called the physiological sigh. 2 sharp inhales through the nose, filling the lungs completely, followed by a long, extended, slow exhale through the mouth. This specific breathing pattern offloads carbon dioxide from the lungs and rapidly slows the heart rate. It is a biological kill switch. You do it subtly while they are talking, while they are trying to provoke you. You are literally forcing your biology to relax while they are accelerating theirs. Watch them as you do this. As they get louder, you get slower. Your breathing drops. Your blinking slows. Your posture relaxes. Your facial muscles go entirely slack. This is a display of absolute terrifying dominance. In the animal kingdom, the predator does not rush. The prey rushes. The prey scurries, darts, twitches, and panics. The lion walks. When you forcefully lower your physiological response in the face of their aggression, you subconsciously signal to their primitive brain that they are not a threat to you. You communicate without a single word that their highest level of rage barely registers on your radar. This destroys them. It infuriates a manipulator at first, but more importantly, it leaves them completely powerless. They brought a storm to a mountain. The mountain does not care about the rain. You have turned their weapon into a mirror of their own insignificance. They are burning calories. They are spiking their blood pressure. They are damaging their own organs with stress hormones. And you are just standing there breathing slowly, watching them self-destruct. You are weaponizing their own momentum against them. But to make this state permanent, to truly become untouchable, you must rewire your core belief about human value. You must understand the dark truth about why people act the way they do and why expecting anything else is the root of your suffering. Phase 5. The economy of provocation. You must stop looking at human interaction as a social exchange. It is an economic one. Your attention is a currency. Your emotional baseline is an asset. Your neurochemical balance is your capital. Every single day you walk around with this immense wealth. And every day emotional beggars approach you. They do not ask for money. They ask for a reaction. They want a piece of your focus. They want to drag you into their chaotic, impoverished emotional economy. When you get angry, you are opening your vault and handing them your gold. Why are you funding them? Why are you subsidizing the fragile egos of people who cannot regulate their own minds? Julius Caesar understood the absolute currency of dominance. When he was a young man, long before he became dictator of Rome, he was captured by Sicilian pirates while sailing the Aegean Sea. The pirates, not knowing who they had captured, demanded a ransom of 20 talents of silver. Caesar did not get angry. He did not scream at his captors or curse his bad luck. He laughed in their faces. He told them they clearly didn't know who they had taken and demanded they increase the ransom to 50 talents. For 38 days he lived among his captives. He didn't cower. He didn't throw tantrums. He wrote poetry and speeches and read them aloud to the pirates. When they failed to appreciate his writing, he calmly called them illiterate savages. He participated in their games. He ordered them to keep quiet when he wanted to sleep. +1. And in a perfectly calm conversational tone, he repeatedly promised them that as soon as he was freed, he would return and crucify every single one of them. The pirates thought it was a joke. They thought he was an eccentric, arrogant hostage. He wasn't angry. He was simply stating a biological and historical fact. The ransom was paid. Caesar was released. He immediately raised a small fleet, sailed back to the island, captured the pirates, took back his silver, and executed them exactly as he had promised. Cold, unflinching, emotionless execution. Anger is an emotion of the powerless. It is a theatrical display designed to convince the other person that you are dangerous. But true danger does not need a theatrical display. The lion does not roar at the gazelle before it strikes. It simply strikes. When someone provokes you, they are checking your price tag. They want to see how cheaply you can be bought. They drop a sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive insult, or a direct threat, and they wait to see if you will pay them with your rage. The moment your face flushes and your voice raises, they have purchased you. They own that moment of your life. You must adopt the mindset of an elitist regarding your own energy. Become an absolute snob with your neurochemistry. When an incompetent manager, a toxic relative, or a manipulative partner tries to bait you, look at them as a bad investment. look at their provocation as a terrible business pitch. You want me to sacrifice my peace of mind, spike my cortisol, and lower my intelligence just to argue with you about something that won't matter in 72 hours? Request denied. You do not say this out loud. You live it. You let the provocation hang in the air, unanswered, unpurchased, rotting on the table between you. Phase 6, Projective Identification, the virus transfer. To truly immunize yourself against anger, you must understand the dark psychological architecture of an attack. When someone insults you, you think they are talking about you. This is your ego deceiving you. It is a cognitive illusion. In psychoanalysis, there is a defense mechanism known as projective identification. It is a terrifying, almost parasitic phenomenon. When a person has a fractured, decaying inner world when they are consumed by shame, inadequacy, and self-loathing, they cannot bear the weight of their own psychology. The internal pressure becomes too severe. To survive, they must export that toxicity. They must find a host. They look for someone who is stable, someone who is calm, someone who represents the peace they are fundamentally incapable of achieving. Then they attack. They say something cruel. They cross a boundary. They belittle your achievements. They are not actually attacking you. They are attempting a data transfer. They are trying to upload their internal virus into your hardware. They want to make you feel the exact anxiety, worthlessness, and rage that they are feeling. If they can make you lose control, they feel a temporary sick sense of relief. They have successfully offloaded their poison onto you. The moment you get angry, the upload is complete. You have been infected. You are now carrying their psychological garbage. Do you see the absolute tragedy of this? Every time you lose your temper at someone else's disrespect, you are acting as an emotional landfill for a broken human being. You are doing them a favor at the expense of your own nervous system. How do you block the transfer? You shift your perception from defense to clinical pity, not empathy. Empathy is dangerous here. It requires you to feel their pain. You do not want to feel their pain. Clinical pity is cold. It is a way a researcher looks at a fascinating but doomed organism under a microscope. When they raise their voice, do not look at their anger. Look at their weakness. Look at the desperate, flailing child inside their mind that is screaming for validation. Ask yourself a rhetorical question in your own mind. How miserable must this person be? How horrific must their internal monologue be that they are forced to act like this just to feel alive? Watch what happens to your anger when you adopt this lens. It evaporates. You cannot be angry at someone you clinically pity. You cannot feel threatened by a psychological beggar. You strip them of their power instantly. They want to be seen as a threat, a conqueror, an intimidating force. When you look at them with mild analytical curiosity, you deny them their reality. You look at them as a symptom. And symptoms do not warrant anger. They warrant observation. Phase 7, a symmetrical agreement. The kinetic deflection. But what happens when you cannot just observe? What happens when you are forced to interact? When the manipulator is standing in front of you, cornering you, demanding a response? You do not argue. You do not defend yourself. Defense is an acknowledgement of vulnerability. When you defend an action, you are implicitly agreeing that the other person holds a moral authority to judge you. Never give them the gavel. Instead, you use asymmetrical agreement. In physics, if an object is hurtling toward you, standing firm and trying to block it absorbs the full kinetic impact. You take the damage. But if you step slightly to the side and pull the object in the direction it was already traveling, it loses its balance and collapses under its own momentum. This is psychological judo. When they insult you, they are expecting resistance. They have prepared their counterarguments. They are braced for the impact of your denial. So deny them the impact. Agree with the premise, but amplify it to a degree of absolute unapologetic ruthlessness that short-circuits their brain. Let's say a toxic peer says, "You are so arrogant. You only care about your own success. You're completely selfish." The average ego-driven response, "That's not true. I help people all the time. I'm just focused right now. How can you say that? You just hit the wall. You just proved they affected you." The asymmetrical agreement response, look them directly in the eye, perfectly calm, and say, "You are entirely correct. I am utterly obsessed with my own trajectory, and I prioritize my reality over everything else. What is your point?" Watch their cognitive gears grind to a halt. They have no script for this. They designed an attack meant to trigger shame, but you just took the weapon out of their hand, inspected it, agreed that it was sharp, and handed it back to them. You removed the friction. If someone says, "You're acting like you're better than everyone else," you reply, "I hold myself to a standard that most people find uncomfortable." Yes. If someone says, "You're impossible to deal with," you reply, "I have zero tolerance for mediocrity or manipulation. If that makes me difficult, then I'm extremely difficult." Do you feel the power in that? It is the total weaponization of your own shadow. You take the trait they are trying to weaponize against you, own it completely, and strip it of its moral weight. You are telling them, "You cannot shame me because I am not hiding. You cannot expose me because I am already standing in the light." The manipulator thrives on uncovering your hidden insecurities. When you gladly present your supposed flaws to them on a silver platter, they realize they have absolutely no leverage. The insult dies in the air. You remain unbothered, your heart rate steady, your breathing slow. You have defeated them using their own energy. Phase 8, the death of the ego. Why does any of this work? Why does clinical pity, physiological control, and asymmetrical agreement make you untouchable? Because they require you to murder the one thing that keeps you weak, your ego. We are taught to protect the ego, to build self-esteem, to defend our honor. It is a trap. The ego is a target painted on your chest. The bigger your ego, the larger the target. The more you care about how you are perceived, the more surface area you give the world to strike you. If you want to be truly immune to anger, you must become a ghost in the social hierarchy. You must arrive at a place of such brutal, unyielding self-awareness that the opinions of others become literally irrelevant to your biological state. Marcus Aurelius, despite his power, had a practice of breaking down grand things into their most basic, unimpressive components. He would look at expensive vintage wine and tell himself, "This is just fermented grape juice." He would look at purple imperial robes and say, "This is just sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood." He stripped the illusion of value away from the world. You must do this with human opinions. When someone attacks you, strip the illusion away. What is actually happening? A primate wearing clothes is vibrating their vocal cords to produce sound waves. Those sound waves hit your eardrum. That is the entire physical reality of an insult. It is just noise. It is just air moving across a room. Why are you allowing vibrating air to dictate your blood pressure? Why are you allowing the poorly formulated thoughts of a flawed, dying mammal to convince you to abandon your own emotional sovereignty? It is absurd when you view it mathematically. The people you are getting angry at, do they have the life you want? Do they possess a mind you respect? Are they masters of their own destiny? Almost always the answer is no. They are chaotic, undisciplined, and unhappy. So why do you care about the judgment of the incompetent? Why do you want respect from people you do not respect? It is a paradox of human stupidity. We desperately crave validation from the very people we consider fools. Kill that craving. When you stop demanding that the world see you accurately, you become free. Let them misunderstand you. Let them judge you. Let them think you are arrogant, cold, difficult, or strange. Their perception is not your reality. Their perception is their own mental prison. Leave them in it. This is not a mindset you adopt overnight. It is a neurological rewiring. It is a forging of an iron citadel inside your skull. The next time the trigger is pulled, the next time the disrespect hits, you will not react. You will feel the ancient primitive urge to fight back. You will feel the heat in your chest, and you will stop. You will execute the double inhale. You will drop your breathing. You will look at the person standing across from you not as a threat, but as a fascinating psychological specimen. You will observe their flailing ego. You will recognize the virus they are trying to hand you. You will step aside. You will agree. You will let their momentum carry them over the cliff, and you will remain perfectly terrifyingly still. The world will suddenly look different. You will see the strings attached to everyone else. You will see how easily they are manipulated, how quickly they are driven to rage by cheap provocations. You will see the matrix of emotional slavery that the rest of humanity lives in. But you will be outside of it. You will realize that true power is not the ability to destroy someone else with your anger. True power is looking at someone who is actively trying to destroy you and feeling absolutely nothing at all. You become a void of reaction, and in that void you find total control. But as you begin to practice this, As you build this immunity to the external world, you will face a chilling realization. When the noise of other